It's time for Lefties Losing It, and we have to have our weekly check-in with the ladies of The View. Let's see if this lot can go through a show without saying something spectacularly stupid.
Did you see the rendition of the of the library that he's building?
Yes.
It's a giant, it looks like a giant penis.
Oh. Yeah. Let me see that.
It's just this giant thing.
This looks like a modern building tower, like millions others you have seen around the world, maybe just a little bit prettier. But Whoopi can see a penis. Now, they are deranged on that program. We shouldn't be shocked. Here is Sunny Hostin suggesting that it's reckless to have children unless you make over $400,000.
I think it's just really reckless to be suggesting that people should have children when you now know in this country there's this affordability crisis, and for a two-person household, a married household, you need over $400,000 for childcare. Over $400,000. Most people don't make over $400,000. So she's advocating for people to be born into poverty, people not being able to feed those children, people not being able to educate those children, and people not being able to house those children at the same time when this government is cutting all of the services.
Deranged, I told you. So unless you are rich, earning over $400,000, then forget about having a family. That would be reckless. And you can forget about marriage too, because apparently that's tantamount to slavery if you're a woman. Here is actress Leslie Jones.
I think marriage is legalized slavery.
You do?
Yes, I do.
Say more, because if I'm thinking about slavery and I'm thinking about marriage, there are two different images that come into my head.
Absolutely not. I don't know how you don't. A man is, especially if he's expecting you to be a trad wife, he might as well pull out a whip and a chain.
Wow. So there are young people watching who might be wanting to get married. What would you say to them?
Don't
get married.
No.
Okay.
Slavery. You know, I'm done with these crazy women. Let's check in with a dude pretending to be a woman. Maybe he's a little bit more sane. And you've got to give Dylan Mulvaney some credit here. He has been mocking womanhood, or girlhood as he calls it, for 4 years now.
How old are you?
I'm 4 years old.
You are the youngest person ever. You are the youngest.
Time for an awful now. You remember them, affluent white female leftists. They're now protesting for a ceasefire, protesting for the military action against the Islamist Iranian regime to end. Here you have an Iranian woman trying to impress upon an awful how evil this Iranian regime is, but the smug lefty doesn't hear a word.
She's right. Iranians are asking for the bombs. What are you doing supporting a terrorist regime? Why are you supporting a terrorist regime? I understand bombing is bad. Convince me of what? Of rape? Of women not having no rights? I'm Iranian. I've been imprisoned by that regime.
Let's bring in documentary filmmaker and commentator Ami Horowitz. Ami, I got to say, that smug look on that woman's face is maddening. The Iranian woman told her what that regime has done to her family, how she may never see her father again, and the protester clearly couldn't care less.
No, of course not. Do you think she cares one whit that the entire, and I mean the entire Iranian diaspora is for this war and against the regime? Of course she doesn't. This is all about, ultimately, not about Iran, not even about Palestine when it comes to the Israeli conflict with the Palestinians. This is all about the destruction and the burning down of the West, the destruction of capitalism, self-immolation, I dare say self-hatred. This is what it really is about. It's not about that woman. It's about that the Iranian woman, but it's about that white older woman herself and what her thoughts are. It's why Queers for Palestine exists, right? That's the same pathology. That even though if they're being gay is obviously one of the most fundamental concepts of your being, but you would rather support the people who are throwing your people off of roofs and balconies to their deaths, because what's more important for them, what's the bigger end game? The destruction of capitalism. And by the way, if you mentioned those 32,000 Iranians who were slaughtered by the regime, they're going to look at you and say, they just died in the altar of socialism. That's how bad it's gotten, and that's what really the game's about.
Now, on the war, President Donald Trump has offered a new estimate for when the conflict will end. He has told reporters earlier today that he expects American forces to leave within 2 to 3 weeks, Army. What do you make of that?
Yeah, look, ultimately, the president, he also often speaks aspirationally, right? That's kind of, I think this is also. Does he mean 2 to 3 weeks? Maybe, maybe not. We're not sure, right? Look, I trust him to get the job done, okay? And the timing matters less than what the achievement is going to be, okay? Give you a sense. I mean, if we stop today, if he pulled out today, the world is exponentially better off today than it was a month ago before the war started. Just so we're 100% clear of where we're at in this thing. I know all the people are talking about how no exit strategy, this, that, nonsense. We're already better off, okay? And by the way, just to give you a sense, like from a data point standpoint, that we've been averaging the last month, the war began, roughly 3,000 targets being hit per week. So if he continues for just 3 more weeks, that's almost 10,000 more targets. I don't think 10,000 targets really exist out there for him to hit. So yeah, that timing kind of tracks with me. And by the way, just to give you a sense of achievement, right? This is incredible. Look, the Gulf states, right? The Gulf states are pushing the president to go further. They want this war to continue. This is a war, so we understand what's going on, that the chief ally with the president is the state of Israel. If the Gulf states are aligning with the state of Israel because of they understand the threat that Iran has. And by the way, just 2 years ago, okay, the Iranians were cozying up. The Gulf states were cozying up with the Iranians because they thought that under Biden, that they left them standing in the wind. They're like, okay, we're alone in this thing. We've got to do something to protect ourselves. That's how far we've moved, and that's what how the world has changed under President Trump as opposed to President Biden.
Well, you mentioned the Biden years, and this gives you an indication where the Democrats are at the moment. Michigan's Democratic Senate candidate, Abdul El Sayed, has told staffers he wanted to avoid making a public statement about the assassination of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei because there are a lot of people in Dearborn who are sad about it. This is according to a report by the Washington Free Beacon Army. The Democrats have a problem here, and it's one they have ignored for a long time. Most of the media has ignored this issue as well. But when you've got people very sad about the death of the Ayatollah in Dearborn, Michigan, then there's a problem.
It's a massive problem, obviously. We've been saying this for years, and now we're seeing it come through. Look, yeah, Dearborn, Michigan is the home of the terrorist who smashed his vehicle into a Jewish school in order to kill Jewish children, right? And news just came out today that he did it, shocking of shocks, for Hezbollah, the terrorist organization in Lebanon. And by the way, again, and this bears repeating, the media's portrayal of this guy, his motivations, if you remember this, right? It's important, I think, to go over it again, that he did this because his family was killed in Lebanon. Oh, yeah. His brothers, who were Hezbollah agents, were targeted by Israel because they were trying to destroy the state of Israel. Yeah, those are the guys that the media was trying to make you sympathize. But this thing with Sayed is really, again, about the Democratic Party and where they are. I think it speaks more to them, maybe even than Dearborn, Michigan, that he's the candidate that, by the way, is within the margin of error. Just, he's not some kind of fringe candidate. He's within the margin of error to win this thing. I think that says quite a bit. And I can't also stress enough that the language he's using is not only the language of the left, which obviously it is, it's also the language of the horseshoe right. And it's also the language of the Iranians. So now we see this trifecta, this three-legged stool come together of our enemies, right, dictating the language of both the hard left and the hard right. It's very, very scary.
It is now to a headline that is causing all sorts of waves on social media and elsewhere. The Daily Mail reports the bullet used to kill Charlie Kirk did not match the rifle allegedly used by suspect Tyler Robinson. This is according to new court filings. Ami, that headline is perhaps a little misleading. What more can you tell me about what we've found out about this case?
You know, Rita, I've always thought you as a kind woman, and you just showed yourself. Yeah, misleading is not the word. It's despicable, okay? It's journalistic malpractice. Yeah, it's. I couldn't even believe it when I was first told that this was the headline of that article, and I had to read it, of course. Look, all the evidence, and I mean all the evidence, point to Robinson, right? The DNA evidence, the fact that he actually admitted that he did this. What they did, they said that the bullet doesn't match the gun. Yeah, well, that's because the bullet disintegrated. It fragmented. It doesn't relate to any gun possible because they couldn't get striations off that bullet. But they didn't give you that context. They just gave you this misleading and journalistic malpractice headline that would lead one to believe that this is actual evidence that says that he didn't do it. Again, this is all pointing toward this conspiracy theory that we've seen on the hard left and the hard right, giving air to that. I can't believe they actually did that. It's like saying, lack of evidence doesn't mean lack of culpability, right? It's like saying that a guy murdered somebody and he admitted to the murder, but he dipped his hands in acid, so his fingerprints don't match the fingerprints that are at the. That's exactly what it is. It's total and complete nonsense.
Now let's get back to the Democrats, and this is another astonishing story. In the battleground state of Pennsylvania, the Democrats withdrew a resolution to honour National Women's Month after a Republican asked them what a woman is.
Madam Speaker, this amendment is very straightforward and clear. It defines what a woman actually is because we do know what that is. Thank you.
The resolution is temporarily over.
The Democrats could win the midterms in the most massive landslide ever seen if they could just pretend to be normal. But they can't manage that, can they?
No, it is so incredibly revealing, obviously. They can't be normal. And by the way, they could have won the presidential election. Okay, not just the midterms. They could have won the presidential election if they were just normal, but that's not in their DNA. No, they have zero ability to understand what the electorate wants. It's why they've lost. It's why they'll look. I'm not saying they're going to lose the midterms, or probably not going to, but they would win it with a much, much larger margin. They just moved away from this idiocy, but they simply can't do it.
No, now, talking about crazy idiocy, I want to ask you about California. I don't think Australians realise just how crazy California is. It's what happens when Democrats control every level of government. And, tell me about this gubernatorial debate that was supposed to take place last week. It was cancelled at the last minute because all the candidates were white. What is wrong with your home state, your original home state?
Yeah, look, this is absolutely extraordinary. It truly is. Not only my home state, but it's also my alma mater, USC. They had a debate and they put the criteria forward, which, by the way, criteria that made sense, how you polled, and also they added how much money you were able to raise to give you a sense of who really is involved in this race. And it turns out that the top candidates were all white, and that is not acceptable in California. What? You can't have all white candidates? I don't care if that's the criteria that we allow. This can't be. But, I'm going to take a little of a victory lap here, Rita, if you don't mind. I don't know if you remember, but I told you that California was not necessarily lost, okay? And you laughed at me. You laughed. But guess what's happening? Okay, I'm just telling you, in the last two polls that were done, the top two leading candidates are the Republicans, okay? That's what happened when the two biggest Democratic candidates you have running are known for banging a Chinese spy and a woman who can't keep anybody as part of her staff because she has a toxic work environment. Yeah,
that would be the same woman who dumped a pan full of mashed potatoes on her ex-husband's head at some point. Her track record is frankly remarkable. Yes, you're saying they've got two Republicans as leading the polls, but are they Republicans or are they rhinos? Are they the sort of Republicans that can get elected in California, but anywhere else in the country they'd be pretty much considered Democrats?
We're a big tent, Rita. The Republican Party is a big tent, has all sorts, and that we don't need purity tests. That's not what we're about. That's what the Democrats are about. That's why they lose. We want people who are going to win, and yes, of course, they are Republicans.
Army, before you go, I want to ask you about CPAC. It was in Texas this year. There was a lot of Iranians there. They were there to hear the Crown Prince speak, I would imagine. But RFK Jr. was also there, and he was asked about how his perceptions of President Trump changed after he joined the administration. Of course, he was a Democrat. This is what he had to say.
Let me just say this. President Trump is exactly the opposite of everything that I believed him to be. I basically drank the Kool-Aid that he was this, bombastic narcissist who didn't read books, was ill-informed. And then, now I know exactly the opposite. He's the opposite of a narcissist. He's an empath. You see that every time he talks about the Ukraine war.
He also said that his father and his uncle would be making the same sort of decisions Donald Trump is making right now when it comes to Ukraine and Iran. Does that ring true to you?
So Trump is not a bombastic narcissist, and I mean to pose that question in the most loving way possible.
Horowitz, we always love your analysis. Thanks so much for your time tonight. Well, I've got to say, this may be one of the more bizarre stories we'll be covering on this program. Former Department of Homeland Security Secretary Christi Noem has broken her silence after it was revealed that her husband, Brian Noem, is a cross-dresser with a liking for oversized fake breasts and tight-fitting miniskirts or shorts there. In a statement released to the New York Post, Noem's camp said, Miss Noem is devastated. The family was blindsided by this and they ask for privacy and prayers at this time. Joining me now is writer, comedian and editor of the LoftusParty.com, Michael Loftus. Michael, this is just staggering stuff. What do you make of this story? The New York Post has reported the photos were taken while he was acting out some bimbofication fetish. I'm not even sure what that is, but apparently it's all about exaggerated physical appearance and hypersexuality.
Yeah, it's crazy. This is one of those things where I don't want to know what this is. I could have gone my whole life without knowing that this was a thing. And I tell you what, Christi Noem, she's going to have an open and shut divorce case right there. Her lawyer's going to be like, Your Honor, Exhibit A, B, and the double Ds. It's not going to be good. And she couldn't run Homeland Security anymore. She was blindsided by this. She didn't know her husband was doing this. And if terrorists were ever to find out that Christi Noem can't see this kind of thing, we would have had cross-dressing terrorists just coming across the desert into America.
Oh, my God. I mean, yeah, there's all sorts of questions being raised now about, could he have been compromised? Would it have been a national security threat, having an individual who's this close to the seat of power? The president has now responded, seat of power, yes, to this story. He's told the Daily Mail he did not know about the photos and was surprised that Noem had confirmed their authenticity. He said they confirmed it. Wow. Well, I feel badly for the family if that's the case. That's too bad. This is quite a fall from grace for Christi Noem. She was sacked by the president, demoted into a lesser role. And, not too long ago, Michael, she was the face of a $200 million ad campaign.
Yeah, and you had people on the left saying that Christi Noem wasn't qualified for that job because she was a bimbo, and it turns out it was her husband the whole time. It's like the ultimate plot twist. No one saw this coming. And for this guy, he's on the internet trying to meet people. Would it kill you to smile, buddy? I mean, you got the hot pants on, you got the big knockers. Give us a smile. That's what's so confusing about it. Are you not happy?
Oh, yeah. You said double Ds. I had a look at some of those photos. That would be triple Ks. I mean, we're talking oversized. Now, let's move along from this story. We've seen all sorts of bullying and intimidation of Nicki Minaj since she came out as pro-Trump, and the activists did promise that they would hunt for other MAGA musicians and expose them. And TLC singer Chili Thomas, who donated to the Trump campaign, has been caught out. But unlike Minaj, who's been steadfast and strong, Chili has apologised in record time. She also posted on social media, "I want to be clear, I am not MAGA and do not support any of the many policies that are causing great harm to the American people. I made a mistake. Too many make. I did not read the fine print." Pathetic week, Michael. But I guess I shouldn't be shocked, because the hate and cancellation efforts that Nicki Minaj has faced, I guess someone like Chili from TLC, she's not big enough to withstand that.
I guess not. And to apologize this vociferously and this fast, you know who does that? A scrub. A scrub does that. And I don't want no scrubs. I learned that. I learned it from you, Chili. She says she didn't read the fine print. What, with Donald Trump? There is no fine print with Donald Trump. That dude is all caps locked. I'm building a wall. There's no fine print.
Everything he's doing, he has been yelling about, screaming about for at least the last 5 years. Throughout the Biden years, we knew about the deportation plan, we knew about the wall, we knew about pretty much everything he is doing right now. Now, let's talk about Tiger Woods. He's announced that he's taking a break from golf just days after he was arrested for driving under the influence in Florida. In a post to social media, Woods wrote, "I know and understand the seriousness of the situation I find myself in today. I am stepping away for a period of time to seek treatment and focus on my health. This is necessary in order for me to prioritise my well-being and work towards recovery." Michael, it was also reported that Tiger Woods was caught with 2 white pills in his pocket, according to police. It's a sad state of affairs. This man is a sporting legend and much beloved.
Yeah, and it's everybody wants the best for Tiger. He's just so beloved. But this is one of those examples that God doesn't give with both hands, right? Like, I'm going to make you one of the best golfers ever, but when you try to drive, you're going to suck at it. You're going to wreck like a third of the time. This guy, we're all screaming, at our TVs right now. Dude, you're worth $1.5 billion. Get a driver. I know there's a double entendre right there. He's good with a putter. The guy needs a driver is what he needs.
He does need a driver, you're right. And there's also been concern about the fact that he may be driving around in that sort of state the president's grandchildren. Not that you'd want any children in the car, but Tiger Woods is dating Don Jr.'s ex-wife and the mother of his children. So that's also been spoken about. There's always a twist in these stories. Now, we brought you news the other day of a potential royal reunion between King Charles and Prince Harry in the UK later this year. However, new reports reveal that Prince William may snub his younger brother and that invitation if it were to come. What do you make of this story, Michael? Can you see these brothers ever reconciling? I mean, it's so sad. They're the only sons of the future king. William is obviously going to be king one day, and to have Harry completely estranged from his family is a sad state of affairs.
Yeah, these two guys have to get back together. and they will. It's Meghan Markle. This chick just must be unbearable to be around. The royals at this, I guess she's going to be touring Australia, and she's giving some speech at like the Her Best Life thing, and it's like that's the last person you want to hear about her best life. Meghan Markle, who's just on this trail of tears. What is she going to tell these people? Oh, your best life? You want to marry a royal and then ruin his life. The royals need to be very quiet for a long time. They need to take a page out of Queen Elizabeth's handbook. She would just hang back. You wouldn't hear from her for months. And all of a sudden she'd pop out and she's like, I love Britain. Britain is fantastic. And then she'd go away again. That's what these boys need to do.